Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Happy Sunday, Sunday Comics. We're going to continue with this X-Men run. This is the first appearance of Dazzler. This is X-Men 130. Got a bunch to say about this. I remember buying this comic. I remember seeing it on the cover, and geez, Disco was big when this came out, 1979. Disco. I mean, once comics started goofing on it and copying it, it was on the way out. But this, Saturday Night Fever. Gee, I just noticed I colored in Storm's eyes again. This is the copy that I bought off the shelf, and I didn't realize this, but it's John Romita Jr. inked by Austin. I didn't realize that until just now when I was looking at it. In my mind, this was always like a John Byrne cover, when I thought about it. But now that I'm looking at it, I can see it's not a John Byrne cover, but I wouldn't have guessed John Romita Jr. It just shows you what a powerful inker Terry Austin is. How you doing, Oscar? Oscar's here. Oscar's a fabulous artist. He worked for Marvel. He's as a colorist. He could draw, he could color, he's knowledgeable. And Oscar, since I started watching those Santos Mexican luchador movies, all my ads on YouTube are in Spanish now, and it's just fun to get Spanish ads. Hey, Brittany's here over down at Fox Prowl Comics. How you doing, Brittany? How's everything? Let's all have a sip of coffee together. How's everybody at Fox Prowl Comics? What's going on? And if you're at Fox Prowl Comics and you're interested in seeing Brittany's husband draw a comic, you can pick up Heroic Tales 1. He does half the book. Renzo does the art for the other half of the book. And Heroic Tales 2 is all Renzo. And Oscar is the colorist, along with Daniel De La Silva. He's also the colorist. Two comics. You can pick them up or ask Brittany and she'll get them for you. Ask Brittany. She'll tell you what to do. Good morning, John. Dazzler is so cool, a character with great potential and powers. Yeah, we'll talk about Dazzler. I just an interesting character. I always thought that they didn't know what to do with Dazzler. It was like, let's make a disco concept and what do we do with her? It's a character based on a fad, based on a trend. The Disco Dazzler, like what happens after disco is over, which happened. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I have ideas. Yeah, I always thought this was a Byrne cover also. Yeah, but right there, JR and Austin. Right, that is Austin. I'm gonna turn the light up a little bit. I don't care if my face glows. I just need to see. Yep, Austin. Yep, I always thought it was a Byrne cover. Marcus is here. How you doing, Marcus? How's everything? Let's take another sip of coffee. Ooh, yes. Look for the Blue Demon movies. Oh, Blue Demon's another one? Okay, I enjoy those Santos movies. Oscar lives in Mexico, and I've been talking with Oscar. I wanted to do like some sort of luchador-based superhero. I just love the look, and I've been kind of fascinated by it ever since Hellboy in Mexico. But obviously I'm not a guy from Mexico. I would get lost. I barely understand Spanish, so I was talking to Oscar about it, and every idea that I had was either they already have a luchador guy named that, or that's just like, as Oscar would say, that's so gringo. So you want to be authentic, but it's hard to be authentic when it's something. But anyway, he sent me some Santos comics, which I just thought were so much fun, and sent me some movies to watch on YouTube. And I put on the closed captioning so I could watch it. They're a lot of fun. Black or white, 50s and 60s Mexican wrestling superhero stuff. It's kind of like hokey tongue-in-cheek fun, like Austin Powers, but with a wrestler. It's fun. So far, so good. I'm looking for a Xenomorph hot toy to ship out. But yeah, you can see me and Ron to hook up with Heroic Tales. Yeah. So if you're in Fox Prowl Comics and you're interested in my crowdfunded comic, Heroic Tales, I got 2 issues, a bunch of variant covers, and we're about to start a campaign, maybe within a month, for King Fu Christmas special. Oh, wow. A lot of comments. 58 Underground. Good morning, John. Love that cover. I know. It's such a great cover. Great use of light. Great use. Obviously, there's no photons being emitted from this cover, so you have to create the illusion of light. Just look at the color, the inking. It really does glow in a way. I love Cyclops over here. I love that he's gonna blast her with the eyes. Is she a villain? We don't know. But this. Not only is this disco inspired, but this was a really short time. This was Kisco inspired. The makeup on the face. This is disco inspired by Kiss with the makeup on the face. I was made for loving you, baby. That's when this came out. So this was a bunch of comic book nerds who grew up loving Kiss, and then they did disco. And they put makeup because there's no other reason to put disco stars of the time did not wear face makeup. Kiss wore face makeup. I hope you're having a blessed Sunday. I am at this point, but this is the anti-Christmas. This is the worst day of the year. I have to go do my taxes after this. Oh my God, the most horrible day of the year. It is, anti-Christmas is the only way to describe it. You're drinking way too much coffee. I challenge you, Udo, reverse it and say, I'm not drinking enough. Now draw 4. Lean into that. Have the character be the Green Gringo. Oh, there you go. That is funny. Oscar, what do you think? Can we have a luchador just named the Gringo? Just embrace it? That's funny. Oh, I love Tim Hortons coffee. I married a Canadian, and she introduced me to Tim Hortons, and it's better than Starbucks, better than Gremlins, better than E.T. Everybody's saying hello to each other. Is Dazzler connected to Jubilee? No, Jubilee is not even a concept yet. Completely different. But that's funny that you made that connection. It's so obvious now that you said it, and I never thought about it before. That is, yeah. It's funny. You just blew my mind. It's something I never thought about before. Hail Marcus, my boss loves Kiss. Look at that corner box. I know. Isn't the corner box so great? Once was cool. Says it. Good morning, John and chat pals. How you doing? Everything is better than Starbucks. Yep, I got to agree. Starbucks, overpriced, burnt tasting, bad coffee. All right, so now I'm caught up with the chat. We got enough people here. From this point forward, do the comic, do the chat. Comic, chat, back and forth. So now we got the Uncanny X-Men, the dramatic debut of Dazzler. And look at the lights. Like as soon as like Vibe, does anybody remember Vibe? Stippling Vaughn, are you here? Stippling Vaughn will tell us about Vibe. When Vibe was introduced into the Justice League Detroit, like that whole Chicano culture was ending. You know what I mean? Like the graffiti guys, that was ending. Once the comic books catch up on something, I'm trying to think now. What is the subculture now? When they had punk rockers in comic books, you knew it was the end of punk rock. Oh, everything's been. Oh, Oscar is responding. There are great Gringo luchadores wrestling in Mexico, like Love Machine, El Gringo Loco. Oh, okay. Oh, so got it. That would be funny. I don't know. We got to talk, Oscar. I kind of like. Well, we kind of have a concept who's going to make a cameo in a future story. I don't want to spoil it or anything like that. If you remember, that I have a story written about it's a funeral for like a superhero who debuted during World War II. So everybody shows up. Everybody shows up. And then we're gonna have this luchador character in the background. He doesn't have any lines or anything like that, but just a good way to introduce a lot of lore. Vibe was in the Flash show. I didn't know that. Stippling Vaughn. That's his favorite. That's his favorite character. He actually has like a fan story about like Vibe using his vibration powers to like retune the universe or something like that. Pretty interesting stuff. All right, so let's open up the book. I love these little mirrored socks. Shoot your eye out, kid. Of course, been BB gun. Look at that. Heads. The perfect singer to play Dazzler would have been Debbie Harry, Blondie. Good call. Yeah. Deborah Harry, look at this. Farrah Fawcett right after Charlie's Angels. Either one of them. Deborah Harry at least could sing. I don't know if Farrah Fawcett could sing, but Pat Benatar, put a big wig on Pat Benatar. All right, so now we got Dazzler, with the script. Does anybody? Brittany, you're the only one. Well, Marcus, I know, has children, but Brittany, you're the only one I know watching right now that has young children. Do they still teach script? Could your kids write script? Just curious. So we got the Uncanny X-Men. Oh man, I just got hungry. Jeez. All of a sudden, that's the way it is with me. So we got Chris Claremont, writer, John Byrne, penciler, and the co-plotter, Terry Austin, inker. That's the A-team. This is it. This is the apex of comics. You got these peaks and valleys. This is one of the peaks. Tom Wojciechowski, letterer, Glennis Wynn, colorist, Roger Stern, editor, Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief. So the X-Men show up in a car. Now, interesting, we got Scott Summers over here, Jean Grey, civvies, and this is always something that I always liked. I don't know why. Like, comic book characters, for good or for bad, it's the way it is. I hate this expression, but I'm going to say it. I hate this expression so much that I got my wife to hate this expression. So, of course, when you're married, you do things to annoy your wife. So now I say it just to annoy my wife. If she's upstairs listening, I'm going to get a message. But it is what it is. But comic book characters, like an actor has a look, has a face, has a voice. Comic book characters have colors. Jean Grey's colors are red, green, and yellow. So she's in her civvies. She's got a green jacket, yellow thing, and obviously her red hair. I'm surprised Cyclops' jacket isn't more blue. And then we got Nightcrawler, who's in his superhero outfit. So there you go. Again, this is a splash page. A splash page is when there's only one panel on the page, and it's usually the first page of a comic, but not always. And they reserve the right to have other splash pages. So we got 1979. You can see how well worn this comic is. Got it. Like I said, I got it off the shelf. So look at all these words. Holy moly. Look at all these words. Oh, I forgot to check. Oh, okay. Only one comment. My wife hates that expression too. You know why I hate that expression? It conveys no information. Language is supposed. I've been going off the past week about the importance, of the purpose of language is to convey information. And certain expressions just don't. It is what it is. I knew that before. I knew that before I asked the question. Hey, how was work today? Work was work. Oh, really? It infuriates me. Work was work. I'm glad we're having a conversation. Things like that. I hate when another pet peeve is when you ask a question and people answer a different question. Hey, do you want some milk? I'm good. I know you're good, but do you want some milk? Things like that. I'm annoying. I'm an annoying person. I've made that saying I've made that saying even more annoying, or that saying even more annoying by saying it's what it's. It's what it's. Oh God! Don't come to my house then if you're gonna talk like that. Oh God! So now we here. We look at all the words on a comic. So now we got a technological panel indicating they're being spied upon. Who are they being spied upon? So we got a close up of their faces, and we got the Hellfire costumes. I'll remind me to talk about something about the Hellfire Club when we see their faces more. But I love these costumes. The Hellfire Club, as you remember, back in issue 110, Warhawk broke into the X-Men mansion, and his real purpose was to bug the X-Men. I wonder, was that planned, or was that just like Chris Claremont filling in a plot? Doesn't matter. And now the X-Men have been spied upon by the Hellfire Club for a long time now. And now that the X-Men have found two mutants, last issue they discovered Kitty Pryde, and this issue they discovered Kitty Pryde and Dazzler. Last issue they went after Kitty Pryde. This issue they're going after Dazzler, but the Hellfire Club are one step ahead. And this is also a good way to bring the readers up to speed. Every issue is somebody's first issue, was Jim Shooter and Stan Lee's motto. So we got Scott Summers, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Phoenix, Kurt Wagner, Nightcrawler. And it's interesting. Oh, it's funny that, okay, all right, I got it. So, and then they got an example. So this is just so perfect because it fits story-wise and it fits bringing people up to speed. We got their civilian, their costume, their power. Civilian, costume, power. Civilian, costume, power. Perfect. And they're just running off everything. Their weaknesses, their powers, everything they need to do. And there we go. Nightcrawler, for obvious reasons, this is as far as you go. Stay out here and keep an eye on the rolls. And if you see or hear anything funny, let us know. And poor Nightcrawler, he doesn't get to go to the disco. He doesn't get to go disco dancing. He doesn't get to cut a rug. He doesn't get to, whatever, the 23 skidoos, whatever old fogey expressions. And for some reason, this panel just looks so New York. So they and it's just funny because we just want to fit in with anybody. So they pull up in a Rolls Royce and then park in an alleyway. First off, I call BS. Anybody who's ever been to Manhattan knows you don't just pull up and find a spot. You got a Rolls Royce. You put that thing in a parking garage. So why don't the X-Men go to a parking garage? You know what I mean? It's just only in a movie do they get to pull up in a super expensive, cool car and park a block away from wherever they're going. That to me is more unbelievable than mutants and Galactus. But go figure. Expecting trouble, just getting careful, my old age. Gene, let's go this way. You've been on the edge ever since Professor X returned. So now, what are they doing? Classic comic book. So they're discussing their problems, but they're doing it on the way to a mission. They're not sitting at a Starbucks drinking coffee. So now she brings up something that's bothering you. Also, it's letting the readers know that there's other stuff going on. I know. I guess I've got used to being on my own, running the X-Men my way. Sure, I've made mistakes, but to Xavier, everything I've done is wrong. Uh-oh. These people seem to be going where we're going. So a little bit of tension, the A story, the B story, personality conflict. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Whew, what a stench. I'll bet this place hasn't been cleaned since it was. So they see these punk rock disco people going into this grimy little area, and they're going up this grimy little area. Do you have any idea what we're looking for? Not really. A mutant could be male or female, young or old. We haven't a clue to its abilities, or we're sure of what if it's single, very powerful, somewhere in this club. Gene, is this where old discos go to die? Now this is so New York. This is a perfect. You go into some side thing and it's all run down and beaten up. And then you open a door and it's a club. I mean, nowadays the youngins call it a rave, you know what I mean? Or a pop-up, whatever. But this was a thing. And I remember my friend Adam, I mentioned him a few times on the channel. He had a group of friends that would just they would just find the craziest places, the most unclubbed places, and have like a party. Like this was the 80s, so this was before raves was a word. I forget what they called it, but they had a special word. It'll come to me. And they had cards, and the cards had like a phone number on it, and you were discouraged from telling people the phone number. Like you know what I mean? Like, of course, some people told their friends or whatever, but you called up the phone number and there was a message that told you where the club was that week. So it was like a mysterious, super exclusive club that would, pizzerias, ice cream parlors, a diner. It was always after hours in a place. I think they did it in a bookstore, and it was whatever the name of the place was. It's going to drive me nuts. But that's what this is. This is perfect for Manhattan, some warehouse. And there you go. Disco party going on. You got all of these old, Quincy punks and everything like that. Quincy punks, for those of you who don't know, I'm just laughing that I even use that term. Quincy punks. Remember the show Quincy? Quincy MD, Jack Klugman. There was an episode where a kid died from stage diving, and he jumped off the stage and hit and broke his neck and died. And Quincy labeled the cause of death as punk rock. Punk rock killed him. Not the kid had no control over it. He had no agency. He had nothing. The kid, he just went to a punk rock concert and it killed him. Not stupid decisions, not jumping off a stage and breaking his neck on the ground. No, punk rock killed him. And that was in that episode. They had the most insane looking punk rockers with green mohawks and the nose pins and everything like that. Like, and in me and my friends going to punk, it just became known as oh, that guy's such a Quincy punk, the stereotypical punk. And I think there was a goofy parody punk band called the Quincy Punks. There was a couple of songs called Quincy Punks. You know what I mean? It wasn't just me and my friends. It became part of, like, at least New York City 80s terminology, Quincy Punks. You don't want to be a Quincy Punk. I guess that was the same as being a toy when you were a graffiti guy, or a poser or a tourist. You know what I mean? You're so obvious. You're obvious. You're a Quincy Punk. So let's check out the comments. Brittany says, I agree. Closed and simple-minded answers is Lord. Yeah, friends say it too. And, my wife used to say, and I just say, if you're going to answer like that, what you're teaching me is not to talk. You know what I mean? So, and a lot of people are just like, oh, I didn't realize it. Yeah, it is annoying now that you think of it. It's just an expression. It is what it's not. So I just hate when people use language to not convey information. That's why I hate this pronoun stuff. They, them. That is purposely confusing information. Anybody using language to confuse information is shady. Like lawyers trying, what is the definition of is, Bill Clinton and stuff like that. But when you are using words to hide information, I mean, it's a lie and it's shady. So that's why I won't use pronouns, stuff like that. I hate most internet social media speak. Yeah, I agree. Those guys watching the X-Men are going to be future Reavers, Wolverine's nightmares. There you go. Kurt Wagner is Nightcrawler. Yeah, that's Nightcrawler's real name, Kurt Wagner. Everybody had like stereotypical, like. It always bothered me that Storm's name was Aurora Monroe. That doesn't sound too. Not only does it not sound African, but it doesn't sound African American. But to me, the most egregiously bad name is Peter Rasputin. That just sounds Russian, but Rasputin was a real person. I forget his real name, Grigory something. But Rasputin literally translates as the wretched. That was his name, the wretched. They called him the wretched one, the wretched person. It's not a name. It's like, they an adjective. You know what I mean? Like the smelly. You know what I mean? So you just accept it because what are you going to do? But it's not a real name. Just double park. Then you get towed. Man, you get towed so fast in Manhattan. That car's going to get broken into or stolen. A bit of passive gatekeeping. The only people who know about the club would go to the rundown on the outside. Yeah. It makes it exclusive. It makes it, you get bragging rights. And that kind of stuff does work. 24-hour exclusive covers. You don't want to miss out. You know what I mean? Things like that. Dazzler was created by Marvel Committee. Shooter gave her to Tom DeFalco and J.R. Jr. to develop. She was supposed to be a cross promotion between Casablanca Records and Marvel. There you go. And Casablanca Records was Kiss. So there you go. It's delicious coffee. So good. Yeah, you're right. It makes sense that she was made by committee. There you go. Because there's something about her that always seemed artificial. Would you consider Billy Idol a punk rocker? He's one of my favorites. Yeah, he's actually one of the originals. He started out in a band called Generation X. And Generation X, I think, had 2 or 3 albums that are phenomenal. Phenomenal albums. Yeah. And then he went solo. But yeah, get the Generation X albums, and that's where the whole term Generation X came from, was him, or his band. And then when he went solo, the members of Generation X started a band called Sig Sig Sputnik, and they weren't that successful. But yeah, Billy Idol, I mean, he became like the Quincy Punk, if you ask me, like the stereotypical spiky head guy, and that image has worked with them for a long time. But I got no problems with Billy Idol. He was there. He was, as far as I'm concerned, he was there, contemporaries with the Sex Pistols and GBH and everything. Storm was born in Harlem, New York City, if I'm correct. Yep. That we talked about that in issue 125 when she visited her first apartment when she was born. Monroe is more of a Liberian name, but still possible. Okay. I did not know that. Yeah, I think they called her Monroe because of the blonde hair, the platinum blonde hair, but what do I know? I'm talking about like the creators. So let's turn the page. Oh, this ad. It doesn't annoy me as much, but I don't know why. When I was a kid, this ad would drive me nuts. Like I would put my hand and not look at it. So now we got, from the first, both X-Men realized that the disco isn't a very nice one. So now, take a note of the word balloons. The word balloons are jagged with little whiskers. That indicates that they're communicating telepathically. Remember, Jean Grey not only is telekinetic, she's telepathic, and that is one of my pet peeves. Like my brother, who's just a normie, he's not into comic books. Every once in a while, he's like, so why doesn't Xavier just use his telepathy to move that stuff? Because Xavier doesn't have telepathy is reading minds. He needs telekinesis to do that, and he doesn't have telekinesis. And then he'll say like, well, so why doesn't Xavier just shoot mind bullets at people? Oh my God, I'm done talking. But Jean Grey is telekinetic. Tele meaning far away, kinetic meaning force, move, touch. So she could move, force, touch things far away. Telepathy is feeling far away, becomes thinking. Teleporting is far moving, far placing. You know what I mean? I love all that stuff. So now we got close-ups of people. And I've always said, whenever there's close-ups of NPCs, I always wonder, do they use people's faces? So I always wondered if this was like supposed to be the Joker, and is this Dula Dent? Marcus, you're an old school guy like me. What do you think about that theory? Is this just an homage? For those of you who don't know, well, the Joker is the Joker. Everybody knows the Joker. But Dula Dent was his original daughter. I think she was just a crazy person who pretended to be. I think she was like she fought the Teen Titans, the original Teen Titans in the 60s, and she was good, she was bad. To me, she was the original Harley Quinn. Dula Dent, another DC character that is just lost in the time. The Joker's, and I think she went by the name Harley Quinn, right? Am I correct, Marcus? So I'm wondering if that's who these are homaging, and I wonder if these are anybody. But everybody's eyeing these two squares. Now keep in mind that I just lost my train of thought. Jean and Scott are supposed to be like 21, 22 years old. You know, they're not that old. They're, you know what I mean? They're still 21, 22. They could just barely buy alcohol, but they're squares, you know? I'll use my watch. So there's a micro serial probe built in. It programs all the data that the main unit recorded about the mutant. The moment I come anywhere near him, the watch alarm will start beeping. So Jean is telepathically scanning the crowd, and Scott is just walking around looking at his watch. Not you know. So Jean could fit in naturally. First off, she's a hot chick, so nobody's gonna bother her. But this guy, Scott Scummers, is walking around with his big stupid glasses, his totally square haircut. You know, are you the mutant? You know. Scan the crowd with your psi powers. That's easier said than done, Scott. I can't screen out everyone's thoughts. Some of the images I'm receiving are so vile, but I can handle that. Part of me almost welcomes those thoughts. Attractive. Uh-oh. Jean is succumbing to the dark side. And then outside, you know, we see. I love this. I love this. This is just more unbelievable than mutants. In Manhattan, there's a Rolls Royce just parked on the street. And there's no other cars. You know what I mean? So, like, the only thing that I can accept is if they said we got special plates that Xavier's influence used and we could park anywhere, or we're not going to get towed, we're not going to get ticketed, or if we do get ticketed, we could ignore it kind of thing. Or they just don't care. They just got money to burn. They just park there, get there. When they come out, the car's gone. That makes no sense. But whatever. But a U-Haul truck pulls up, you know, and inside the U-Haul, we got these Hellfire. And again, I'll talk about them later when we get a better image of them. And then just a few blocks down Fifth Avenue from the Avengers Mansion stands a building that, like the van, is far less innocent than it appears. So we got the Hellfire Club near Avengers Mansion. I like that they, you know, giving us. I mean, we know it's in Manhattan now. We kind of know where in Manhattan. I like that stuff. This is the legendary Hellfire Club. Where are we? That's possible. That's the Joker Dula knowing Byrne. Okay, there you go. Joker had a kid. If I remember correctly, she wasn't the Joker's daughter. She just told everybody she was the Joker's daughter. She turns out like she was crazy. You know what I mean? She was like Harley Quinn. You know, Harley Quinn, because her name was Harlequin. And she just, you know, assumed an identity and was obsessed with the Joker. Sound familiar? You know, there's some, you know, DC Comics is around a long, long time. There's iterations of characters. Like George Lucas says, it's like a pattern. It rhymes. It's like a poem. It rhymes. Patriarch is telepathic too? No, he cannot read people's thoughts. No, he's not telepathic. He's psionically based, but like he could literally send his senses out. It's almost like Doctor Strange with his astral projection. But if Doctor Strange sends his spirit form out, he could see and hear what's going on. With the Patriarch, he sends all five of his senses, almost like all five of his senses are concentrated here. He could move that consciousness away, so he could see, hear, smell, taste, and touch anything far away. You know what I mean? So he could, you know, send his senses down the well, and he said smells musty. You know, he could hear things. He would be able to touch the walls, you know, far, but at the expense of and it's all five or nothing. He can't send the sight over here and his hearing over here. You know what I mean? So, but he loses the senses where he is, so he's kind of vulnerable when he does it. So he needs to be someplace safe, put up his telekinetic shield around him to protect himself, and then said, because now he's just Helen Keller where he is. Dent was Harley Quinn. Yep, you see, Dancing with Myself was a great song by Gen X. Yeah, Gen X did Dancing with Myself, and then Billy Idol redid it on his album. Yep. Hey, doing Knife School is here. How's it going? Cool image. I like that image. Kind of creepy. Who is it? Is that a original character? I kind of like that image. Knife School did a public eye cover for me. I didn't know that about Gen X. Yep. Don't mess with New York DMV. They'll jack you up. You got that right. You got that right. Especially now, they are hurting for money right now, man. They're raising fines for parking. You know, you got a commie. Someone's got to pay for illegal aliens to live free. Someone's got to pay for the Muslim takeover. So let's go. Let's turn the page. So now we got the Hellfire Club. So this guy's reporting to members of the inner circle. So here he is talking to Jason Wynn. I ruined the focus. I'm going to turn off the camera and restart the camera so that the focus will be better. My hand must have got too close. Okay, there we go. So that's Jason Wingard standing right there, better known as Mastermind. And who's that in the shadow? That's Sebastian Shaw. So that's the first appearance of Sebastian Shaw. You know, he's the Black King. And I think Jason, I forget what Jason Wyngarde, what is he, the Black Bishop or something like that? You know, they're all named after chess pieces. You know, you've done pretty well against the X-Men so far, yes, but to capture them all, I'll believe it when I see it. In the meantime, I'll continue to work subverting Miss Gray and gathering her of her own free will into our fold. So how is the plan progressing? By the way, what's the chance what do you think your chances of success? You think, sure, I know the young lady hasn't realized it yet, but she's mine, body and soul. As you said, I'll believe it when I believe it. So listen to what they're talking about. Jason Wingard, for those of you who are new to this, he is Mastermind. Mastermind's ability is to create illusions. Now, he has some sort of sonic magic science device, and he's projecting these illusions directly into Jean Grey's brain. I personally call that phantasms. So, you know, I'm the kind of nerd that likes to distinguish everything, nitpick everything. So illusions that everybody can see are illusions that only you can see mentally. I call them phantasms, hallucinations, whatever. And they're so real. And he's just filling her with like creepy murder and sex, things like that he's corrupting her, kind of like the One Ring from Lord of the Rings. You know, he's turning her into Smeagol, into Gollum. And Sebastian Shaw is like, this is great, you know. And here's the White Queen. She's into this. So they're just evil people. They're corrupting people, taking away their innocence, you know, sexually ruining them, you know, whatever. I'm trying to think of words that I can, you know what I mean? They're not good people. And here's Emma Frost, White Queen, going along with it. She casually murdered people last time. She's grooming a 13-year-old girl, and she's bringing in her captives. They're stripped down to their underwear in cages. You know what I mean? Here's Xavier over here, and she's got her nameless goons. And here I want to talk about, so these are the Hellfire Club henchmen. Look at the way they're dressed. They got these blue outfits, and they got this flesh-covered masks that hides it. So it just turns them into mindless humanoid flesh. Like, it strips them of their identity. You know, so that's what they see. They see humanoid puppets. They see useless, you know, what's the word? Useful idiots. So these people wear these costumes, and they're putting on a mask, a humanoid mask, to just reduce their humanity. You know, that's what the Hellfire Club is. You're a human, but you're less than human than us. You know what I mean? We are the elite, and you are just mindless, irreplaceable plastic dolls that we could play with and destroy. That's the Hellfire Club. Is there a reason? There's a reason why I keep saying Emma Frost does not belong in the X-Men. And if she's on the X-Men are not heroes anymore. You know, this is Jeffrey Epstein. This is Ghislaine Maxwell. There's no other way to describe it. So now they're trying to break into Xavier's brain. They're talking, and Kitty Pryde, 13-year-old girl, just found out that she was a mutant a couple of hours ago. She's phasing through the wall. You know, what do I do now? She's just an impulse. She saw everybody getting attacked, running around an explosion, jumped into the truck, phased through the wall. And the Hellfire Club was pretty prepared for everybody, but they knew there was a mutant, but they couldn't prepare for Kitty Pryde's power because they didn't know what the power was. The X-Men didn't know. Whatever the X-Men knew, the Hellfire Club knew, and they prepared beforehand. They didn't know. So she's the wild card right now, just like they don't know what Dazzler could do. So, yeah, I don't know. It's one of the creepiest stories of all time, you know, and they told it within the Comics Code Authority. You know what I mean? The best comic books were made under the Comics Code Authority. Why? They walked the line. They made it subtle. You know, they kind of told you everything, but they told you in a way that towed the line. Brilliant storytelling. Did early patriarchs struggle to control the senses or dealing with unpleasant sensations like smelling a sewer from far away? Good points. Patriarch number 1 is his origin. So it starts out in the present, and then he's telling his origin to his kids, because you'll see why. But there's a reason he's coming clean to his kids about his origin. And yeah, we'll deal with Rookie Patriarch. Literally, it's his first adventure. You know what I mean? So we'll deal with Rookie. I have a couple of Rookie stories to tell. So Jason Wingard, Mastermind, uses his mental abilities all the time so that he can project the image of himself. Does he cut the projection off when he's alone? Good question. I always, you know, when I'm doing my role-playing games and now in my comics, to use your power means you're not resting, and you only heal and recover when you're resting. So like in my world, you'll be exhausted. Like to be the Hulk forever would be exhausting. You need to become Banner to rest, you know. All the passive powers, like Ben Grimm is the Thing all the time. He gets to rest while in Thing form because he doesn't transform. You know what I mean? Like Captain Marvel, Billy Batson, like Eric Lawson, who did the Savage Dragon, he touched on this. He has Mighty Man, and Mighty Man is his version of Captain Marvel Shazam. And he can't eat, sleep, heal in Mighty Man form. He needs to turn back. That's what I think. So Jason Wingard, if he's by himself, in order to sleep, rest, heal, recover, all of that stuff, he would have to be at rest. You know what I mean? I can't go to work and hammer and expect to be recovering and healing. That's what we need sleep for. That's my rule. That's my rule. And I'm not saying that that's the way it is in comic books, but that's my rule. Yeah, people getting the heck out of Dodge. Yeah, they leave in New York. Everyone, yep. They want to tax people as they leave now. Everyone else are pawns to them. Perfectly put. They're pawns. They're nameless pawns. And you sacrifice pawns. You know what I mean? We got some ads over here. Look at this. We got Scott Baio over here. He's dreamy. We got Susan Anton. She would be a great Dazzler. Kathy Bauman. I don't know who that is. Robbie Benson. Oh, he was dreamy. James McNichol. They tried to push him. Christy McNichol's brother. He didn't really last. But Tattoo. I love how everybody gets their real names. But Hervé Vyachev he doesn't get a real name. He doesn't get his real name. He's Tattoo. You know? Dirk Benedict, he's dreamy. He's got no shirt on, in case you can't tell. Kittens. Ice Castles, that was a big movie. More Scott Baio, Farrah Fawcett, and Whiskers, the kitten. Oh. Dirt bikes, look at the ads. Movie stars, you know, TV stars. Dirt bikes, BB guns. You know, and we wonder why they, when you see pictures from the 70s and 80s, nobody was fat because they were outside playing with their BB guns and riding dirt bikes. They would now all the ads just sit still and play video game. Just sit still, just don't move. And no, there's no more comments, so we'll go. So now flashback. If you can see, the word panels are rounded, indicating a break in time. And what are we doing? We're just bringing you up to speed on the last issue. Why? Because this could be somebody's new issue. This could be the first issue, and it's important. You need to know what's going on. Who is this? Who's this little girl? So here we got Emma Frost literally trying to groom Kitty Pryde right here. Creepy. And we know what kind of club the Hellfire Club is. Do we need to explain it? And then the X-Men show up, which to me is a blunder. Why'd you bring Wolverine? You want this girl to go to your school? Leave Wolverine at home. That guy is not helping your case. We all like Wolverine, but if I was 13 if I was the father of a 13-year-old girl and this Wolverine, what's this guy doing? You know what I mean? He looks violent. He looks feral. I ain't sending my girl to this school. It should have just been Xavier and Storm, and then the Hellfire Club attacks. White Queen comes in and does the plot necessarily capture device. Chris Claremont is big on that. One of his faults as a writer is they get defeated because of plot. We need them to get captured because of plot. Big on that. Happens all the time. And then Kitty Pryde she joined in. So now she could whisper, "It's me, Kitty Pryde." Oh crap! She looks out of it. Oh, Kitty, shh! For crying out loud, someone will hear. I came to help. I don't know. It's hard, which is good. It shows that Kitty Pryde has moxie. She's got gumption. She's got the right stuff. She's got this heroic impulse. You know what I mean? Which is a good contrast. I don't think I'm being a spoiler when I say that Dazzler doesn't have what it takes to be a hero at this point. Later on they kind of shoehorn her in, but at this point, Dazzler is not. She's a mutant, but she doesn't want to be a superhero mutant. So she realized either there's some sort of drug or field or whatever that's causing her to be dopey. When we were captured, we searched the skin. They took my lockpicks, but they missed this tag, worked into the fabric of my costumes. So just remember, Storm was a master thief back in her days in Africa. And even that, we were searched to the skin. Why did Claremont's a master writer? Every word means something. He used "we were searched to the skin." He's trying to drive home how creepy, how perverted, how much of a disregard for the person, for people that they have. They were searched to not we were searched. They whatever. They were searched to the skin. It just drives it home. Claremont's a master. He talks about how violated they were without saying it. Just so good. I hope someday to be a 20th of the writer he is. There's someone by the cage. It's a kid. Take this. Find a telephone and call the number I'm giving you. Tell whoever's what happened. Get out of here. You're wasting your night charging it to a dead end, huh? That's why she ran back. She suckered us from the floor. So I love this. It's showing us, not telling us, that Kitty Pryde's got that heroic spirit. She jumped in. She's acting. She's already thinking strategic. This is a brilliant kid. This is a brilliant kid who's got what it takes to be a hero. And what inside the uniform, there was just a little tag with the phone number to the X-Men mansion, because they took all of her lockpicks and everything like that. Here's Xavier's phone number. Give him a call. Go. And she's running. Seal the complex. Search teams. I want Kitty Pryde found at once. Dun, dun, dun. So good. Such good writing. Tex and Cap. Yeah, they tried to do that to Louis Rossman on Apple Repair YouTube. He told them to kick rocks. What? I talk so much, I don't know what exactly you're talking about. They tried to tax him when he left New York. Yeah, that's so You can't do that. I wonder who Shaw and Emma are modeled on. Sebastian Shaw physically was modeled on the actor who played Quint on Jaws. And Emma Frost, I don't know if she was based on anybody, but Jean Grey as the Black Queen was based on Emma Peel. There's an episode of the Avengers, Emma Peel in the black skin tight cat suit. Where she infiltrates the Hellfire Club, and she dresses exactly like Jean Grey, and the character's name is Emma Peel, and now this is Emma Frost. And the Hellfire Club in the Avengers was a sex trafficking cult. You know what I mean? And Jason Wyngarde is based on, there's an actor called Peter Wyngarde who was in that episode, and Peter Wyngarde wrote a book called Rape. And he was an advocate of male supremacy, and women were just cattle in real life. He was a British, and back then people were like, oh, that Peter Wyngarde, he's such a cad. You know what I mean? But I think he ended up doing some time. These were bad people, and Chris Claremont knew exactly what he was doing. Now, Leland, the fat guy, was based on Orson Welles, and I forget the other guy who got his arm cut off. He was based on Donald Sutherland. But they weren't all in that episode. But do the background on the inspirations for this story. Claremont crossed all his T's and dotted his I's. He was telling us exactly what was going on without telling us exactly what was going on, which is why I get infuriated when I see people champion Emma Frost. It's got to be pretty shocking to see someone just dive through a floor. Yeah, I agree. Claremont is amazing. Another thing I agree with. Yes, he has his flaws, like we need him captured. It happened with Arcade. It happened with Magneto. It happened with Mesmero. We just need you captured, otherwise we got no story. You know what I mean? But I don't know. But you can't take away from the guy that this is shocking. It's seriously adult. It's scary. It's creepy. It's from the Comics Code Authority. So that I wonder, and Jim Shooter was monitoring it. I just wonder how explicit and bizarre would this have been if it wasn't Comics Code Authority. I don't know. Byrne kind of hinted that he had to tamper down Claremont, with some of the weirder stuff. We got ads over here. This horrible drawing of Spider-Man. Marcus, do you know who drew this? So it looks like Rushed Kubert to me. One of the Kubert brothers, but it looks Rushed Kubert to me. And then we got cars, model cars, all this cool stuff. Marcus says, Bird decided what actors the characters were based on. Yeah, yep. There's a great documentary in Tubi about Claremont, and they say, oh, really? I got to check that out. Tubi. Like this. Can't help but notice that, so I don't mind going out. But that's what Emma Peel looked like in that episode of The Avengers. So now Jean Grey is just telepathically scanning the crowd. So far, nothing to show for tonight but drunken passes and a comment that my dress is tacky. Scott isn't doing any better. I wonder if Cerebro could have made a mistake. Excuse me, miss. I was right. It's good to see you again. Do you remember me? I'm Jason Wyngarde. We met in Starway. Oh, yes. Boom. And their eyes meet, and boom. Now she's in this phantasm world. And it's a burnt-out church in a woodland glade that will one day become part of Fifth Avenue. But unlike the previous time, Jean doesn't try to fight her way out of it. This time, she just accepts what's happening. So the corruption is almost complete now. She's being led to the altar and waiting. She's led to the altar, and her waiting husband-to-be, as always, his manly beauty takes her breath away. Dearly beloved, we are gathered together in the face of this congregation to join together this man and this woman in holy matrimony. It takes all of our strength to stand demurely and listen to the vicar's service, when she would rather be in Sir Jason Wyngarde's arms. So she's being psychically overwhelmed. This fantasy is being projected into her, and it's just like demoralizing her, into like acceptance and desire. He's just, you know, in he's just pumping her brain with hormones and whatever, just overriding her agency and free will. Yeah, just so creepy. It's like the ultimate violation. And here they are. Wilt thou, Jason, have this woman to be thy wedded wife? Wilt thou love her, comfort her, honor her, and keep her in sickness and in health, forsaking all others? Keep thee only until as long as you both shall. I will. Wilt thou, Lady Jean, have this man? Oh, yes, yes. He goes, I pronounce that they are man and wife. You may kiss the bride. You're not mine now, bound to me to the end of time. My Lord, I would not have it any other way. And then he just rips off her outfit. Ladies, gentlemen, I give you our Black Queen. Long may she reign. Now, did they do this to Emma Frost as well? I don't know. That's something needs to be explored. If that's the case, maybe I'll soften my stance. I just thought of that right now. Was Emma Frost psychically manipulated too? I don't know. I need to anybody Bueller. And then, she's kissing the bride. His Sebastian Shaw. That I think that's I forget his name. The guy who became Donald Sutherland. And then boom, she wakes up and Scott's watching. She's kissing and she looks surprised. Dun, dun, dun. Probably kids from the Cubit School drew that ad for the Future Heroes. Okay. Look at Cyclops' face right here. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's kind of shocking. See the woman that you love. And then we got these great Star Wars toys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yep, these are the original 12. Yep, I had all of these, and I had like a stand that I put on my desk, and it had little levers, and they just like turned back and forth. And then it had like a cardboard backdrop that just had pictures of them. It was the stupidest thing ever, but man, it had little pegs. I put the toys on it. But my friend Sean had this. That was so much fun. Nobody I knew ever had this. Sean had both of these. Nobody I knew had any of these. And then I ended up getting all of these, in for a penny, in for a pound. I wanted all the action figures. Star Wars was sold. It's a good thing Star Wars was never ruined. They only made 3 movies and a Christmas special. That's all that exists in Star Wars. So now, Scott, let me explain. What do you explain? You were making out with some guy. You know what I mean? How do I even explain? I'm not even sure what happened. Did an ancestor of mine marry an ancestor of Wingard and that ceremony closed? What kind of woman was she, Scott? I've never seen her act like this. That wasn't Jean at all. She only looked someone who looked like her. Oh, the announcer. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the honey you've all been waiting for. Dazzler. Dun, dun, dun. Now she just shows up. Yeah. And coming up is one of my favorite word balloons of all time. It's coming up. So here's Dazzler. Right. The room goes black and deathly still. Then the house band starts a pounding rhythmic introduction. And she's there. A vision in skin-tight silver, silhouetted in an awesome light show that shifts in color, often in intensity, the position to match her emotions as she sings. And then here it is, my favorite word balloon of all time. Wow. I know zilch about disco, but this lady's good. Even in 6th grade, me and my friends were making fun of that word balloon. But it's kind of good. It just shows you what a like out of touch, stick in the mud Cyclops is. He just saw his girlfriend, love of his life, fiance, making out with some guy. Got to get back on the mission, which to me further drives home my fan theory that he doesn't really love Jean Grey. He had a teenage fascination with her. It was the only chick that, he grew up in the orphanage, and that he's been telepathically manipulated his entire life. That's my fan theory. And now that Jean Grey's telepathicness is being directed elsewhere, he just saw her making out. You don't punch the guy, you don't get emotional. No, he just goes to Dazzler. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what you do when you find the love of your life making out with somebody. You know, because I finally found the mutant, and it's Dazzler. So the phone rings in the Rolls Royce, and Nightcrawler. We forgot, just enough time has passed for Nightcrawler. Brilliant. That's just brilliant. We kind of forgot, oh yeah, Nightcrawler. So he's got a smile on his face. He's picking up the phone. We weren't expecting any calls. I wonder who it could be. Probably Professor X checking up on us. Boy, was he mad. I was told him I was no longer using my image inducer. God or fate or dumb luck made me what I am, and I ain't gonna hide it anymore. Not even for the X-Men. Given Nightcrawler, it was given to Nightcrawler to alter his physical appearance in the X-Men 97. Yeah. Nightcrawler had like a little machine that would create illusions, so that he programmed it so that he looked like Errol Flynn, so he could mix in with normal humanity. And he's just like, I'm loud and proud. You know, I am what I am. I'm not going to hide it anymore. And Xavier, Mr. Pro Mutant, writes, we all need to fit in, wants Nightcrawler to hide what he is. So Nightcrawler, you know, keeping it real goes wrong. He could have been in the nightclub macking on some chicks, but no, he's outside lurking around like a squirrel or a raccoon through the garbage. Hello, is this the X-Men? I'm Kitty Pryde. Aurora told me to call this number. She and her friends and Professor Xavier have been captured. They need you guys to come rescue them, and me too. Please hurry. They're searching for me. I gotta go. Wait, slow down. Give me the details. Who captured the X-Men, and where are they being held? And boom. I wouldn't worry about that, freak, considering you'll be joining your mutant buddies before long. Boom. Right? You didn't have to rip the door off a Rolls Royce. That's a nice car, man. Don't you have any respect? And I love this. Must be a two-pronged attack team. One an X-Men in Chicago, another to take care of us here. Better warn Scott and Jean. If this bruiser's out here after me, like him, they're probably after him. Boom. Teleporting won't save you this time. Boom, boom. Such a cool power. Boom. Just teleports. So where are we? We have all those vintage Star Wars goodies here. I'm looking at them right now. Cool, cool. How much does a Jawa Minton box go for? An original Jawa? I want a bodysuit like that. Like that. I can't say the comment that I was going to say because Ron's drawing my comic book. Ron's drawing the Raven story right now as we speak. The story's called Curtains. And man, the pages are so good. And as of right now, Curtains is my best written story. That's so good. Scott was a tool. Hey, Ben Samar, voice actor. How you doing? Everybody saying hello? GM? What does that mean? Lisa Roberts for real? Oh, okay. I guess you know each other. Brittany, I'm embarrassed for Scott. Yeah, you should be. Yeah. Yeah, hard cringe. Cyclops is a stand-up guy. I feel bad for him. All kidding aside, I've always liked Cyclops. To me, this is more proof. My fan theory is, think about it. Every person in Cyclops' life is a telepathic mind controller. You know, right out of the orphanage, he goes to the X-Men. He was the first X-Men. He's hanging around with the guy who reads minds, controls minds. And let's be real, Xavier isn't above using his powers to get what he wants. And then the first love of his life, Jean Grey, is a telepathic mutant. You know what I mean? And he even says it. Oh, she's dead and I don't feel anything. And then he's dating Colleen Wing. He's having a good old time. He's on the rebound. He's being cool. He's lightening up. And then, boom, he doesn't even mention Colleen Wing once Jean Grey shows up. You know what I mean? And now he sees her making out with another guy, and he's just like, oh, the mission. You know what I mean? And then he marries Madeline Pryor. And then when Jean Grey shows up, he just abandons her, runs off like a sick. Like, you telling me she didn't reestablish this telepathic control over him, you know? And then it turns out Madeline Pryor was telepathic. She was the Goblin Queen manipulating him. And then he's with Emma Frost, another telepath. You know, he's not just marrying Louise over there at the checkout, you know, normal girl. It's always telepaths. So he in the comics, he banged his head, and that he has no control over his beams. That's why he needs the glasses. Maybe that made him vulnerable to telepaths. That's why if I ever got a chance to write the X-Men, one of the things I would do is Cyclops quits the X-Men, moves back to Alaska where he lived as a child. I got to be away from like he goes to the doctor. You know, I need to figure out he gets a checkup. He goes to a doctor. They're like, you got so much scarring in your brain. This has got to be from telepaths. You know, and he leaves. Goes to sort himself. He has adventures in Alaska, fights a grizzly bear, all that cool kind of stuff, and then comes back healed and is just like, you know, no more. I'm not having anything to do with telepaths. Screw you guys, kind of thing. You ruined my life. You know, you ruined my marriage. You ruined my kids. I don't. First thing you'd do is call up Colleen Wing. You know, that's what I would do if I was redeem the guy. He has been character assassinated long enough, and I think I have an out for the guy. Anybody who wears a turtleneck with a blazer and sunglasses is a stand-up guy. They're laughing. Near mint complete Jawas sell for around 100, but I don't know how much more the box would add to the. Because I remember Jawas with a hard one. I remember at one point they were $2,000 for the first printing. You know, original Jawas. You know, from the original 12. I remember seeing them for $2,000 on eBay. They're listed for 400 on eBay, but nobody's buying. So I guess at the height of the speculator craze, they went up and then they went down. So let's turn the page. Oh man, one of my favorite ads of all time. Sal Buscema, Jordan Rom, and this is the first page of the comic that they're using this as an advertisement for a comic book based on a crummy toy, and the comic was awesome. All of these Marvel IPs at the time were so good. Rom, G.I. Joe, Micronauts, and I know I'm missing a few. But these Marvel toy tie-ins were so good. Star Wars was a toy tie-in too. Let's be real. So good. And this is the inspiration for the ad that Oscar drew and colored for me. Whatchamacallit? Eddie is Doomed. You know, the meteor crashing. This is totally inspired the Eddie is Doomed ad that Oscar drew for me. Yikes. I wonder if that brain dead telepath that was the reason he become evil and kills. Yeah, first off, this is my theory. It's not canon in Marvel yet. You know, Oscar, that'll probably do that for everyone. Yeah, that's my theory. That's how I would redeem Cyclops. I love a good redemption arc. So let's get back to this. We all know your powers and we're equipped to deal with them. A sonic beam, just like the one Cyclops used during a test sequence in the danger room. That's because they know this because they've been spying on the X-Men. Can't concentrate enough to teleport. You can barely think. You can't even run, Beauty, because everywhere you go, I can follow. He's walking up the wall. You know, thanks to that Verdamit Sonic, I'm in no shape to fight. But for all its sakes, I got to fight. So he's coming up the wall. Why is he coming up the wall? Just shoot him. Hit him with. I know they want to capture them. Hit him with a tranquilizer dart. But it's comic books. We got to show cool stuff. It's not Dazzler singing. Scott, I need to talk to you. Yeah, but we're far away from this madhouse, Gene, okay? Someplace private, peaceful. We'll leave after this set. We've introduced Dazzler to, yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, you were just making out with somebody. We'll talk someplace peaceful, quiet, you know. And then the Hellfire Club guys show up. What? Scanner marks 3 mutants. One on stage, 2 in the crowd. Take them. Who in blazes, huh? I don't know, Scott. But the sooner Phoenix and Cyclops deal with it, the sooner we'll learn. She transformed my street clothes into my costume just like that. I'm beginning to wonder if there's any limit to the Phoenix's power. So she waves her hand, and she just transmutes molecules. I mean, the glasses wore the special ruby quartz, so I guess she just manipulates. Which means, if she could do that, why doesn't she just point to these guys and just mutate their armor? You know what I mean? Like, it's cool to just boom costumes. I wouldn't have done that. Again, who am I to criticize Chris Claremont? But I would have had them, you know, rip out, put up the hood, stuff like that, because we're establishing how powerful. There's limits to her There's no limits to her power, unless there's limits to her power. You know what I mean? So now they're blasted these guys. Cyclops is hitting the ground underneath them. She's telepathically grabbing that guy. The beam. It's exactly like the trap Professor devised for the Danger Room. So remember, they've been monitoring the Danger Room. And then I love this. He fires a glob of ruby quartz just around his head. This glob contains some form of ruby quartz. The optic blast can't blast her. The ruby quartz magically can't be hit by kinetic force. But one thing they didn't prepare for was Dazzler. This is insane. The refugees from Starship Troopers seem to be after me. I should hot-foot it out of here, but for the moment, I'm too darn mad. Chuckles, I had one Dynamite debut going until you jokers crashed it. Now it's ruined. And for that, sucker, you gonna pay. And what does she do? She dazzles him. What's his powers? We don't know yet. Light, in all its infinite variety, bursts around this hapless man, instantly flooding his eyes, his mind, his soul. His brain cannot cope with the sensory overload. It short circuits and turns itself completely off. So this is something, I don't know if they bring this up, but at the beginning, Dazzler, she turned sound into light, and now she's hitting him with this light. But this light has a mental component. It's not only attacking his eyes and his visual, it's attacking his mind. It's overloading his brain. So she has this like psionic light. I don't know if they kept up with that, but it's pretty cool. Pretty cool power. It's the first time I've ever seen this. So she's dazzling him. So she blinds him and overloads his brain so that his brain he's confused and perplexed and like stunned into unconsciousness. Pretty cool. Omnipro says the holiday ad gives me super nostalgia. Yeah, I love all these ads, which is why, to me, it's like I don't want to buy collections. I don't want to buy. You miss out on the letters page. You miss out on the ads. You know, the ads and everything like it's part of the comic book experience. John, who in the comic book world do you compare you and the missus to? Saint Nick and Mrs. Claus. Saint Nick and Mrs. Claus. There you go. And then we got this ad over here. This obviously Thor, but they changed it enough. Always bothered me a little bit. And hell, Rom, more ads for Rom. There's the cover. The toys. I always wondered, like, you know, Parker Brothers was known for games, and then they came out with Rom. Just weird. And now we got, he's catatonic. I didn't mean to dazzle him so hard. I've never intentionally used my powers to hurt anyone before. I didn't know. So she just reacted in anger and messed up this guy's brain. You know, the computer didn't lie, babe. You are powerful. Shoot the other one. Consider yourself lucky the employers want you alive. I figured this life of a disco queen would be exciting, but this is ridiculous. Got to keep moving. I don't know what that zap beam is, and I'd rather not find out. Do people talk like that in a fight? You know what I mean? Somebody told me that people don't talk like about my comic. Have you read a comic book? This is a rookie. She's out an audition. She's trying her hard out to achieve her life's dream, and she's attacked by robot men. And the guy's firing a flamethrower at her. And I figured the life of a disco queen would be exciting, but this is ridiculous. Is that what you think? Even, you know what I mean? You're like, oh my God, this sucks. I'm out of here. Kind of, you know. Dazzler's attack. Deck that Gooden with the psionic scrambler. I'm free to use my powers again. Thanks, Phoenix. I was getting a little hard to breathe in there. You tin-plated terrorists have had your chance. Now it's the experts. I always love this panel. Always love this panel. It's happening so fast. He's multiple attacking. There's rules in my role-playing game, not my role-playing game, Village Vigilantes for multiple attack. So he's firing, boom, boom, just blasting these two guys. And in my way of thinking, there's defenses that you could use for every attack. You know what I mean? Like if you're a flame guy, water, ice, stuff like that. But what could you defend? There's no real defense against being punched in the face other than being invulnerable or a force field. So he's just blasting these guys. And that's what Cyclops' blasts are. They're concussive kinetic force. This is the equivalent of being hit with a machine that just fires bricks. Boom, boom, boom. As expected, the armor blunted most of the force of my shots, even though I was channeling so much energy, so tightly focused, it knocked them silly. So he just took out two of these guys. Cyclops is powerful, and when he's focused and ready to go, he's a great leader. He's a great tactician. You know what I mean? I like the guy. I just think he's got the rawest of all raw deals of all comic book. Raw deals of all comic. And here comes Nightcrawler. Hey, somebody, give me a hand. That's what I had in mind, and I love this effect. So Phoenix just blasts this guy's helmet off. Looks like it's open season on mutants again. How do you feel, Nightcrawler? Black and blue all over, but I'm like that anyway. Things are worse than you think, Cyclops. The X-Men in Chicago have been attacked, and they have Professor X. How do we know this is on the level? She could be luring us into an ambush. Hey, Hunk, you Avengers or something? You might clue me in on what's going on? Oh, and you're... Call me Dazzler, darling. That's my name, and that's what I do. I dazzle people. She's pretty cool cool cucumber, considering what just happened. Have you ever wondered where your light powers come from? Nope. You're a mutant, Dazzler. You're a wizard, Harry. You're a mutant, Dazzler. You have powers and abilities that set you apart from the rest of humanity. And so you've just seen there are people who will stop at nothing to capture or kill you. Are you serious? Look around, Dazzler. You tell me. For your own safety, I think you better come with us. Let's check out the comments. Scott's mind is weak sauce. How is he not aware of this weakness and protective somehow by now? It's not in the comics. This is me. This is me saying that he's vulnerable to telepaths. This is me saying it because to me it's the only thing that makes sense, and it's the only thing that explains it. So it's and it's the only way to redeem him because he's a wuss in the comics because of this. Hey, Romo's here. How you doing? Rom? How's everything? Hey, chat. Honey. Britt, that's a great question above. What question? Oh, this. Yeah. Mr. and Mrs. Claus. That's us. We love Christmas. We still have a Christmas tree up. We keep it up all year round. And we decorate it for the different holidays. You're a wizard, Harry. Cyclops' Sue is screaming for a chest emblem. I don't get that. Oh, Cyclops' suit. Okay, yeah. Cyclops' suit. If you yell at me again, I'll throw up. She will. All right, there we go. Where are we? Okay, let's turn the page. So now we got the Marvel checklist. Stan's soapbox. Remember, this is Stan Lee writing an article every month. These are Stan's words. At this point, he's living in Hollywood. I don't know what he was doing. He was supposed to be getting like movie deals and stuff like that, selling Marvel, promoting Marvel into Hollywood. I get the feeling that he was just living off. He was getting paid like $1 million a year from Marvel, as their ambassador, and just living it up in Hollywood, if you ask me. More ROM ads. These are all the Marvel comics. And we got Mr. Fantastic in A Passion for Gold. So the Gold Digger, a nefarious villain with a taste for gold and the power to make himself intangible. Why? What does being intangible have to do with Gold Digger? I hate that. I hate when the names don't have anything to do with the powers. But Reed Richards is super intelligent, and he understands that Twinkies are delicious. And of all the Hostess cakes, Twinkies are by far the best. So there you go, Reed, proving your intellect. And now, the Disco. Inside, quick. I'll protect the car from falling debris with the telepathic shield. Cyclops, I'm not picking up any of our attackers' thoughts anymore. They just cut out. I was planning on having G telepathically interrogate one of those goons. So they're dead. The goons are dead. The Disco is blowing up. You know what I mean? We're not mentioning any of the partiers, the Patreons, the dancers, the disco dancers. It's understood they took off, but a building just blows up in Manhattan. I guess their masters wanted to make sure I wouldn't notice. Nice people. So more people are just casually murdered. The pawns, the robot guys. They seem to know an awful lot about the X-Men, too much. But how? Who are we up against? What are they after? Cyclops, the man is waiting at the corner. It's the man Jason kissed at the disco. He's part of the puzzle too, or simply a rival for Jean's affection. The first I could deal with, the second I'm not so sure. Either way, I don't like him. And then this is the first clue, because we don't know he's Mastermind yet. We just know he's Jason Wingard. Spoiler alert, but I love this. You see his shadow doesn't match what he looks like. So he's using his illusion powers to make himself look different. And they drive by. And remember, the door was ripped off. I love when they do that continuity. So you see Nightcrawler sitting in the car. And he's just walking down the street laughing. It's Cyclops, Phoenix, Nightcrawler, and Dazzler to the rescue. But will they reach Chicago in time to save Kitty Pryde? Find out in Run for Your Life. And I love looking at the letters pages. You see, this is the kind of stuff you don't get if you get it in trade paperback. Bob Bull and Ivo Stern. And then an ad for Crazy Magazine. More ads. Are you too skinny? I love the ads back then. Back then you were too skinny. Nowadays, fat and proud, Live seahorses. Matchbox cars. I just always loved when we see DC characters in a Marvel comic. Legos. And that's the comic. Dun, dun, dun. So as usual, I will keep talking while the chat's moving. I can't talk forever. It's anti-Christmas. It's tax. I got to go to the tax people. I just thinking about it makes me angry. Just angry. This is the angriest day of the year for me. It's the opposite of the most wonderful time of the year. Gold Digger is more powerful than Doctor Doom. He wants gold that he can turn intangible. That is the idea of a superhero made by people who aren't into comic books. You know what I mean? Yeah, Gold Digger. He steals gold, he turns into a ghost. How does he carry the gold? And he has a gun. So stupid. Because the value of money isn't real, so Gold Digger is intangible. Oh, okay. I like that. Ron. All right. Ron just redeemed. There are no bad characters. All right, Ron, you just redeemed him. He's as real as fiat currency. There you go. Damn. Oh, I knew it. The Dark Phoenix story is coming. Yes, that's literally the next story after the Hellfire Club. These comic book villains love the redheads. Yeah. Everybody loves them. Oh, men love the redheads. This is pre-Ginger Side. I just read that for the first time last year. That's a beautiful cover. Yeah. God, I love the old stuff so much now. Yeah. It's such a good cover. So there you go. This debut of Dazzler. The Hellfire Club story is full on. This is it. This is the best. We only got about 10, 15 more issues of this summit before it starts to slowly decline again, in my opinion. So there you go. What do you guys think? That's that. I will tell you my weekly schedule. So I'm actually going to work tonight at 11. So I was on the regular day shift for a week, and then I was offered to work overnights for time and a half. You're not going to say no. And this shift, for the past year, I was working 3 to 11. It's the worst freaking shift in the world, because when you wake up, you're just waiting to go to work, and then when you come home, it's midnight, and my wife meets me at the door, gives me a kiss. We eat a little bit, and then she goes to bed, and I'm too wound up to go to sleep, so I stay up later and later and later. Wake up later, it sucks. So I spent the week normal people time. That was fine. And then I got this. So now I got to, instead of going to bed at 9, I'm leaving at 9 to go to work for this week. But it's all time and a half. I come home, I could go to sleep and have normal hours. So that's my plan for the week. And then next Monday, it's back to 7 to 2 regular time. And I don't know how long that'll last. That's one of the things about construction is things change. The only constant is change. So let's talk about what my channel schedule is. So, uh, so Tuesday at noon, I'm gonna have a talk with Toxic Nick, and I know I have something else. Oh, and Bill Williams. Bill Williams is Tuesday at 7 p.m. So I'm gonna have two talks. I'll have noon Toxic Nick, and then 7 p.m. Bill Williams. He wants to talk about. We got a cool thing to announce. I was about to announce it, but he asked me to wait. We got a cool thing to announce. Okay. So and then Friday it's clobbering time at 7 p.m. We're going to talk about the most out of character moment. Wednesday at 7 p.m. It's comic book team up, me and RJ. And I think Thursday I'm going to be on Phoenix Press, Nick Gibson's channel, and we're going to talk about this Diana Lance. Black Canary could beat Batman at boxing. We're gonna talk about that. So that's my schedule for the week. So I have a big old pile of red comic books. I want to do a comics before this teetering pile falls over, and then I can put them away. So that's what's coming up. So let's see the chat. Omnipro says, "Thanks, John. I really enjoy your show. Got to go. Have a great day. Goodbye. Thank you for coming here. I enjoyed this. This and I this is my favorite thing of the week. And then also Avengers Assemble. I just sit here and open up a comic and talk about comics. This is what I envisioned my channel to be. Everything else is bonus. So these are my two favorite things. Saturday 10 a.m., Sunday 10 a.m. Just talking about comic book with the chat. This is what I always wanted to do. Always great. Thank you. Where do you think the X-Men decline? The X-Men decline once John Byrne leaves and the X-Men just become whiny bitches and it's all about identity politics. That is the decline. And it's a slow decline because already God Loves Men Kills came out, and that was a good story. But it just becomes, we're persecuted. We want to be treated like everybody else, but we break all the rules. We want special treatment, but we don't want special treatment. And when you don't give us special treatment, we're persecuted. I hate that stuff. I think John Byrne kept X-Men as like an exciting, fun superhero team. As of right now, there's only been, since X-Men 94, there's been one X-Mutant persecution story. And then the graphic novel. So there's two X-Men mutant persecution stories. It's been superhero antics, it's great. And then John Byrne leaves, and it's just Chris Claremont whining about mutant identity rights. And that's, to me, I couldn't leave fast enough. Yeah, I do. I'm saying, Oscar, it went up like this. So even on a decline, it was still great for a long, long time. I lasted until X-Men 204, who's when I quit the X-Men. I've since bought back, in eBay lots, the missing issues. But yeah. Brittany says, "I'll talk to you soon. Bye, Brittany. Good to see you. Tell Ron his pages are so good. Ron is drawing the third Raven story, and part of the deal was he could take as much time as he wants. So I purposely gave him a story that he could take as much time as he wants in the he feels no pressure. Ron's got a bunch of kids. He's got a wife. He's got his own business. He's a little discouraged, and I don't blame him. The way the indie comics scene has gone. Although, Ron, if you're still watching, I think the tide is turning. I think people have woken up to all this nonsense, and they're either ignoring it. I was addressing it for a long time, and it was just making me angry. So now I'm just ignoring it, and it's getting easier and easier to ignore. We're sailing past it. So that's my policy. But other people are dealing with it. It's funny, and you know what? It's at the point now where it's not even funny anymore. I don't even watch the people attack it. But anyway, focus. So I hope you feel refreshed and want to come back because your art has leveled up so much. But anyway. So I wrote the first Raven story. That's 3 stories away for Renzo to draw. Renzo wants to draw Raven because it's a Batman kind of guy. And then the second, the connective tissue between the first story and Ron's story, It's plotted out, but it's not scripted out yet. So that shows you how far in advance Ron is working. May God bless you, and may your tax burden be minimal. I know. Unfortunately, I live in New York. Still Claremont's writing. Yes. Yep. Yeah. But I think Claremont and Byrne were butting heads so hard, Byrne left. Byrne wanted to write. Claremont is a writer. And I think it's like Lennon and McCartney. These two, butt headed, and I think they acted as sandpaper, and they polished each other off. And then when Byrne left, Claremont just went full on mutant persecution. Who knows? Did Byrne come up with some of these ideas and Claremont finessed them, and vice versa. And then without Byrne, I don't know if like Paul Smith and Barry Windsor Smith and Mark Sylvester, did these guys come up with plots, or were they just art robots? You know what I mean? But this is so good. This is so much Byrne is in this, in the plotting, in the characters, and I'm sorry everybody, but I go with Byrne, because when he went to the Fantastic Four, it was just as good. I once Byrne left Claremont, even the quality of the writing took a hit, in my opinion. I see how Byrne added to the stories. Byrne co-plotted the stories at least 50-50 with Claremont. Yep. There you go. Yeah. That, Byrne is getting co-plotter, sometimes even co-writer credits. And I don't know. I wasn't in the room. I don't know if that caused, I think it did cause problem. Byrne eventually left. But there you go. I'm all caught up. I've seen people are leaving. So you know what? It's an hour and 30 minutes. I guess this is a good time to say goodbye, kids. See ya.